Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back for another episode of MTV's The Challenge, Season 36, I just found out really recently. But again, John and Annabelle joining me to discuss Episode 9, recap what just went down in an elimination that actually was, I feel, important to the season because this feels like a very, very big turning point in terms of who has the power in the game. And now it is crystal clear, whereas for most of the game, it hasn't been so crystal clear. But John and Annabelle are back again for another episode. I'll open it with Annabelle. Annabelle, what was your take from – I was thinking, I'm like, was it a men's or women's elimination? That's who I'm going to open with. It was a women's elimination. Annabelle, what was your take from tonight's episode?
It was a solid episode all around. We finally kind of brought the Teresa arc to an end for this season. We had that drama building up for a while, so kind of nice to see that come to fruition. Hopefully, we have more storylines develop along the way. I always enjoyed trivia as the daily challenge. I did not expect Darrell, of all people, to win that one. I would have put him as a winner of something far more physical than that. But that was fun to watch as always, and yeah, it was pretty good elimination tonight. So let's see what John's got to say.
What do you got, John?
Yeah, I mean, putting a cap on Teresa's arc today felt like a great way for us to end the first half of the season. And that's really where we're at now. We're halfway through this season, and we seem to have new storylines emerging, getting rid of all those old ones we've had for the last 9 episodes, and it's time to move on to the next phase of this game.
Yeah, I think it was good. And I will say that I never would have thought this would happen, but I feel that Amber B has emerged as a bit of a power player, which is pretty shocking for a rookie, based on what everybody has said, not based on my prior knowledge. But Amber B, I know that she went after Teresa tonight with the power that she had, but Darrell let her do whatever she wanted because Darrell said it's a female elimination, you decide. But Amber B was able to get every single person in the house, with the exception of Teresa and Corey,
and Anissa.
Vote. And Anissa, was that? There were 14
Anissa went rogue.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because there were 19 total. That's right. So I was thinking that there were 18. So there were 14 people who ended up voting for Teresa. That's really crazy. So I feel like I know that it's Teresa, and I know that people were gunning for Teresa, and that's an easy person to pull off. But the fact that they gave that much power to a rookie rather than saying, no, we're going to throw in another rookie, so you're left with the decision of either you go in against that rookie or you can throw in somebody else who's going to beat that rookie, and now you're down in rookie numbers. I thought it was really surprising how that played out really easily for Amber.
I think part of it comes from the fact that both of the main alliances in this house were okay with throwing Teresa in. And we saw that because we had Gabby talking with Kyle right after the daily about how she was worried that Amber B and her have been at odds lately and that it was time to... She was concerned that Amber was just going to throw her down because she didn't have the option of throwing down Amber M. Mm-hmm. And Kyle was like, okay, well, we'll just get someone else. We'll do what we have to make sure it is someone else who is going down there. And the obvious choice was Teresa. So I don't know if this was as much Amber B being a power player. I think it was just one of those convenient moments where both sides of the house were in complete agreement with each other.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It was sort of the easy vote, so to speak. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have had beef with Teresa. You know, if everybody's calling you toxic tea, that just doesn't bode well for you. So it was sort of somebody everybody could get behind. You don't have to kind of sever your ties just yet. So the Big Brother people got behind it, and then some of the other older vets got behind it. So, and now Corey, I mean, you know, he was behind it. I mean, he didn't vote against Teresa, but he, you know, was very eager to get another partner. So,
yeah. And so I do disagree just a little with this. And I know I'm reading in the comments, and I agree everybody wanted Teresa anyway. But what surprised me the most is that nobody put up any type of fight for any other agenda. And to me, like, when you have a rookie as the head of house, or, you know, I'm going to call it head of house, but when you have a rookie as the double agent, and that's the person, you would think that you would be able to kind of pick and choose. And I get that they ended up picking Teresa, which is somebody that they wanted out ultimately. Wasn't doing much for anybody's game. She was toxic T, but you made it really easy on the rookie to not have to make a decision of, should I throw myself in? Should I not throw myself in? You didn't get rid of one of the rookie's numbers. And I know that the Big Brother Alliance obviously wants to keep Amber B, but there's got to be somebody else who's sitting there saying, okay, well, if all of the Big Brother people are going to run the final, that means I'm not. You know, Devin even said in this one, like, he wanted Teresa to win. Okay, why didn't you vote against the house then? Or why didn't you try to get other people kind of behind it to go after somebody who could be a little bit more threatening? And you could still throw Teresa. She could still say to her, well, we didn't put her in, so you got to throw Teresa in if you want to, but at least make it a little bit more of a competition. I mean, Casey got an easy gold skull here, which is good for the alliance, but it just seemed too easy for Amber B. And it was boring that there was no other name that even came up during this entire process. And I was just surprised at the rest of the house not doing anything.
Yeah, it was anticlimactic for sure. I mean, you kind of got a little bit of Lolo talking at the end of deliberation about how, oh, I'm an athlete. I don't know if y'all know that, but Lolo's an athlete.
I just found out tonight. This was the first time. I did like the Olympic question, and she was mad that she didn't get that, though she didn't know Washington, D.C. wasn't a state. Sorry. We'll get to Casey with the Wolves. Don't worry. That'll happen. But we'll have our fun in a little bit, but I just want to kind of get to the deep dive here on what was going on. But continue, Annabelle. Sorry.
No worries. It was funny. I mean, they were attempting to tease, oh, like, what about Lolo and Nam? Like, Lolo's ready. She's an athlete. She wants her skull. She's not scared. She's a rookie, blah, blah, blah. But Anissa was the only one who voted that way apart from Teresa and Corey. It was not really much of a red herring, so to speak. So, yeah, I wish they had kind of played up a different angle a little bit more. I agree. It was pretty cut and dry here tonight. But again, I hope it's kind of just laying the groundwork, tying up some loose ends to hopefully progress us further with different alliances. And now we kind of have to see the two groups sort of eat each other. Like, it's almost been not a pagonging like in Survivor, but kind of similar, where all of the people who didn't really have the strong ties are gone, and everybody left now is very deeply interconnected. So now they just kind of have to eat each other.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how the men are going to play out when they have to start eating each other, because Corey talks about it right at the top of this episode, and as we see in the preview for pretty much the rest of the season, CT will be a double agent again. Spoilers. Like, he's just standing up there screaming, "Are you effing kidding me?" It looked like he was standing up in a double agent position. So that means, obviously, if he does get to that point, he will have his pick of the litter, whoever he wants to go up against. So I am excited to kind of see them start to devour each other. And we got a little bit of that with that cattiness kind of from Amber M, Amber B, Gabby, where that's going now that the rookies have actually had to play the game. I think that that's become a lot more interesting. So maybe Teresa is kind of, her going home is kind of, as we've said a couple times here, leaving behind these early episodes of the challenge and moving on to what will be the end game here in the new storyline. I'm almost looking at this as like the merge. We have 5 people with gold skulls for the men. We have 3 for the women. There's 8 people at least who are going to end up going home between now and the finale, with 10 people running the finale. So I'm looking forward to them having to start turning on each other, because are all the Big Brother people really going to run this final? Are we going to get Fessy, Josh, Amber B, Casey, and are they all going to make that final on top of Leroy and Cam? And then, like, it just seems too easy for what's shaping up right now. And I feel like with how the challenge runs, it can't be that easy. Something has to go down. And maybe it'll be the fact that Fessy's terrible game actually ends up working for him. It looks like in a future episode, maybe that'll blow up the entire Big Brother alliance. Who knows?
Yeah, it's really interesting, because today we kind of saw that the alliances in the house aren't just the Big Brothers versus the rookies, because Amber B is clearly part of the Big Brother alliance, and it's been edited that way. She is very much gung-ho for Big Brother. And it's now becoming very apparent that our 2 alliances are the Big Brother people and their partners, and everyone else in the house. So, And we see Devin and Kyle throughout this episode planting those seeds in the rookies. They're talking. Devin's talking to Amber M right at the top of the episode, being like, and where is Amber B from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And then Kyle's talking with Gabby, and it's like, no, we have to go after the Big Brother people. So it's very clear that like we're being set up for a major conflict here between these two sides of the house. And yeah, who wins the the dailies moving forward is going to matter to that. And I think part of the reason why today was so cut and dry is because the numbers are so close between the two alliances, and because nothing's been fully defined with this faction opposing the Big Brother alliance, that you can just be like, yes, we have the numbers, we can go for it.
Mm-hmm. But it seems like they're finally starting to push. Devin talking to, like you said, with Gabby and Amber M, and then Fessy looking like he's crossing the lines here with Gabby. Corey kind of seems like he's kind of towing that line. I don't know if Corey's ever going to get a chance to win a gold skull, because every single time he gets partnered, they go home immediately. And I feel like he's been a rogue agent every time, or even if he's not the rogue agent, his partner, how many of his partners have gone home? 3? Or we had 3 or 4? And Amber M's not lasting.
No.
No.
Not at all.
So, I mean, poor Corey, man. I mean, he's going all over. I thought Anissa's line at the end about you used to be worried that if you went near him, you get pregnant. Now you're worried you go home. I don't know what that means because I didn't watch other seasons, but it sounds funny. And Anissa, I'll give you the Stephen Fishback Fishy for that one, because that sure was funny, and I did love that. So
no, that was the best part of the episode, in my opinion. Corey is known to be a player. I'm currently watching a season where he shows up and literally three of his challenge exes are in the house. And there's only 15 women, and he's been with 3 of them. I mean, that's like 20%. It's ridiculous. And they're all like, oh, Corey's here, So he's got a reputation as a bit of a Romeo, and that's funny. Anissa brought that throwback today.
Especially since Anissa is one of those exes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. She was
I love that.
From
I love that.
Season.
Well, Ty Walsh says all Amber M partners have gone home too. And so that's a good point. Amber M and Corey have no luck right now in terms of partners.
Mm-hmm.
So will be interesting to see how that moves forward. All right, let's go into some happiness though, because for what was a pretty, it felt like a lot of filler in this episode. It felt like they were really struggling to fill the hour and a half, where early on it didn't feel that way. This episode felt like they were struggling to hit an hour and a half, and it could have been an hour for sure. But this was a trivia challenge. Both of you had played them up really big to me in the past, and I was like, how good can a trivia challenge be? But I got to say, I love the simplicity of the true and false questions, because when you're playing along at home, this is something we'd always talk about with Survivor. It sucks when the audience can't follow along. And so we don't know what's going on, and it's like, oh, good, they did something. Cool, done. I love the fact that we could all sit there, and when Casey says true to wolves not eating meat, we can all go, is she kidding me? Or like, what are you talking about? And I love that that's what this challenge is, because yes, it's so easy, but with what they were doing, that was very physical, having to hold yourself up like that. And when that's what you're focused on, that's frightening. I mean, you're not focused on what the question was, so you're not thinking straight. But there were some classic moments in here, and I thought it was very, very funny how this played out ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this was a little different than most of the trivia they do, because most of the time the trivia is like a 3-strike or 2-strike, you're out type of trivia. So the fact that this was we know everyone loves trivia. Burger King comes in and sponsors it. Mm-hmm. TJ loves trivia. He just wants them up there answering questions wrong all day long. So the fact that they went with this other way of doing it, where it's like with the tilting and just holding yourself up, and you're being rewarded for answering questions correctly, and it just gets harder and harder the more you get wrong. I really like this adaptation of trivia. I think it's a great way of progressing how this challenge works.
Mm-hmm. I agree, especially when you get one right and you are rewarded with screwing somebody else over by inching them closer toward the water. It's almost like a trivia version of the coconut shop challenge in Survivor. Like, you kind of get to see the politics a little bit and who's gunning for who. So it kind of adds an extra element to it, where they're literally not just hanging above the lake. And people always, I know I do on tests, I always like overthink true and false questions, and especially in that kind of adrenaline pumping environment. I could see why they were making some of those mistakes, but how do you not know that Washington, D.C. is not a state?
And it's like, it's one of those things where it's not even like it's really been discussed all that much. Like, that's something that always comes up in politics of like, you know, oh, the Democrats want to make DC a state, but like, it's not something that's ever gotten far enough that you could really confuse that. Like, that's really obvious. And especially like a wolf. Your dog doesn't eat any type of meat when you have your dog. You do know dogs are descendants of wolves. And what I liked about this challenge, though, that the coconut challenge always failed at, is that just because you got it wrong doesn't mean you don't still have a chance. The people who were still going face down, like we hear Cam saying at the end, I can't go down any further. I can't go down any further. That's awesome, because the fact that Cam can't go down any further lets us know that, yes, even if you lose and you get every question wrong and people are really gunning for you, you still have a chance here. And I think that that's what's important, and that's what ultimately does work at all when it comes to the coconut challenge. So that's why I like this one a lot more. I think that it was really fun to watch. I think it was really interesting to see play out for sure. Like, I'm all about having them, get to sabotage each other over stupid questions. Like, half of them were shots in the dark. I didn't even know TJ Lavin was in the X Games. I had no idea what his name stood for, but it was so good how they tie that stuff in, but then also questions where we do know the answer. Any human being knows the answer. It's fun. It really is fun. And for Darrell to win it is just so shocking, because everybody knows him as such a physical force. For him to win, and then I also love when Nam wins, and Lolo's like, oh, and he's so smart too, and I'm like, he's not that smart, okay? Like, he's won this, but that doesn't mean he's that smart.
Yeah, it was also impressive that Darrell was able to conquer his fear of heights for this, because we're always told how much Darrell hates heights, and the fact that he was able to, I think the fact that it was trivia actually helped him a lot, because he was able to focus on the trivia itself rather than the heights. So that gave him a little bit of an edge there over his fear.
Yeah, this is definitely a mental challenge for sure. It was cool to see Darrell conquer that. They're in Iceland, and they said that water was, 45 degrees, 50?
45, yeah.
Oh, my Lord. I mean, I know they're in and out probably pretty quickly, but that's got to be somewhat dangerous, right, for hypothermia?
It's not that cold.
Really? Okay, maybe
I'm sitting here and it's 25 today, so
yeah. I mean, it's well, that's why they put them in the wetsuits and they do all of that. I mean, it really is. And somebody swims out to get them right away. You see that when I think it's Teresa pretty much lands on her neck. Love that one. That wins epic fall of the episode. That's for sure. But yeah, I do appreciate the fact that they focused in on Darrell's fear of heights and Big T's, because Big T has the same thing I have. I hate going on balconies. I'm absolutely terrified of balconies, because when I'm up there the whole time, I'm just like, well, I'm pretty high up. And it's the same thing with Darrell, where your mind is telling you one thing, but your body's doing something completely different. It's like Kyle said to him when they got back to the house, like, you won this because out of fear. You didn't win this out of skill. You won this out of fear. And that might be the truth. I mean, Darrell just hung on there as long as he could, because falling that far is the biggest fear of somebody who's afraid of heights. It's not the fact of what's underneath you. It's just the fact that you're falling that far. That is what is scary. So good on Darrell for staying up there, and good on Big T for at least standing there for 2 minutes before she went into the water, because she did not last very long at all. And her screaming was hilarious.
Yeah, and we see really what how important the focus is in this challenge, because essentially it's what lost Cam this challenge. Because she dropped focus those 3 times and started touching the edge. And TJ even reminded her, don't do this. But you could see she just dropped that focus, and it cost her this challenge. Who knows? Maybe she could have been double Asian again. She was definitely one of the better performers when it came to trivia up there anyways. And we know she's one of the best physical specimens up there. She could probably outlast Nam in that type of situation, but she just kept touching the edge of the cage.
I don't know. I think that she was done. I think this was one of those things where her body was giving in, and the only way for her to stay, I mean, having her arms like this, that's working whatever muscles it's working. I feel like Nam probably works them a little bit more than Cam does. And so that's why I think Nam was going to win this pretty much no matter what. I think eventually Cam's feet were going to come off and she was going to have to hang there for as long as she could, which wasn't going to be very long because anybody who's ever tried to hang off of monkey bars, it's like impossible. It's so hard. So I feel like she was on a short clock and reaching down was kind of her only way. I mean, you even see Kyle when he realizes he's going to go down, he purposely goes to that lower part because there's a little bit more leverage and he kind of control himself as he falls. So he doesn't have a Teresa type fall. I guess it was Teresa, not Nani, right? I think. But I liked this challenge though, because it did feel like a challenge that was like what we were talking about last week. It felt like a challenge that was equal playing field for the men and the women, which is what I want. Even though two men ultimately ended up winning it, and it goes to Darrell over Nam, even though those were the last two people standing, I do think there is a little bit more equality to this challenge, which is more beneficial to a timed portion. Because if the girls were smart, every time they got a question right, they would just aim for the guys. That's what you do every single time you get a question right, because get the guys in the most difficult positions right away so that they don't have a choice and their bodies start to hurt more than yours do. That's the smart thing to do. And I do think that this is the right challenge. Like, this is the type of challenge I would have liked to have seen last week when CT just felt like he got screwed because of the Big T situation. So all of that being said, I am a fan of challenge trivia. It works for me. I know somebody was saying that it's better when they do the multiple choice, but I kind of liked how lightning fast this was the whole time. We didn't have to think much. You didn't have to say, wait, what was A? Wait, what was B? It was just, is that true or false? Really simple things or just outlandish things that why would we ever know? Square root of 196 is at 14. I love him saying, first, I got to know what a square root is. That just cracked me up. I was like, all right, like, this is what I'm here for. I am so like, thank you, Corey, for getting the first question and answering it with that, because it set the tone for what was to come for sure.
Yeah, the format was a lot better in this one. You did have two heats, but it didn't really matter. It was because it was even for all sexes. It didn't really have anything to do with like who your partner was, and it came down to just ultimately who answered the most questions correctly, which ended up being Darrell. So you kind of took the issues that we had with last week's challenge format out of it. So that was good to see.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you. I'll open it up to both of you. But Burger King comes at you with a giant red card that says Whopper VIP. Now, this was interesting to me because, you know, living in a city like Los Angeles, like I did for a very long time, there's a large homeless population. And I was really thinking to myself, I'm like, Whopper VIP, you literally will never go hungry because you could just present that anytime. Like, that's crazy. How would you feel about being a Whopper VIP and being able to eat as many Whoppers for free for the rest of your life as you would like?
I have a very important question. Does it count for Whopper variants, or is it just the plain Whopper? That really does change my opinion.
It is just the Whopper, I believe. I don't believe you get like a Whopper Junior or a double Whopper or whatever else Whoppers there are.
Well, if that's the case, I mean, go out, treat your kids every once in a while, I guess. But it's not that great, especially for athletes. It's not really a great prize.
That's why Burger King's giving this away, John.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like, these aren't the type of people who are going to Burger King to buy a burger every day, even if they do have the opportunity to get a free one whenever they want.
So what cracks me up, and then Annabelle, I will turn it over to you, and John, I do have a follow-up, but what cracks me up is my uncle won Penn Relays, which is like the biggest track and field event in America. And he won that back in the 70s. That man is 65 years old now, and he eats McDonald's like 4 times a week. And when he was running, he would eat McDonald's like 4 times a week. So while most athletes don't do it, it did crack me up thinking about that. I'm like, my uncle, if he was like that age at that time, he would go eat 2 Big Macs and 2 large fries when he would go to Burger King or when he would go to McDonald's when he was really young. So it cracks me up thinking about that. I'm like, that's the type of thing he would love to have because it would mean free food. He'd go there every single day. However, normal people, which is crazy because normal people are not on the challenge, but normal people are probably not going to be like, oh, I'm going to run over to Burger King every single day. However, Annabelle, how would you feel about being able to eat as many Whoppers as you want for the rest of your life without having to pay a dime?
I think I've been to Burger King less than 5 times in my life. I don't even know where one is in my city off the top of my head. So that wouldn't do much for me. John and I were actually having this discussion with some of the other patrons last week because I was watching a season where they had another Burger King promotional challenge and they had a similar prize. I want to say it was free Burger King for a year though, so it wasn't limited to the Whopper, but it was obviously a shorter amount of time. And I was thinking, I'm like, is this transferable? Like, could I give this to a homeless person and they be fed for a year, or could I give it to literally anybody who benefited from it more than I would? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're not transferable because they're not trying to lose money. But.
No, they're definitely not. But I want to know, like, are Whopper VIPs something that like a regular person, like, how do I become a Whopper VIP? Not that I really want to be one, because when I go to Burger King, I don't really like the Whoppers. I like their regular burgers, but I'm not a big Whopper fan. I like my burgers plain. I'm the guy who goes to Five Guys and literally gets a plain cheeseburger, and people are like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, that's what I want. So like, I don't know. I'm just like, how do I become that? Like, how do I Phil, host of the Challenge 36 podcast on the Survivor Specialist, become a Whopper VIP? Like, is that possible? Because I think it's a cool idea and I would love to do it, but I don't think it's real. Like, I feel like they made that up for the challenge tonight.
I would imagine that it's something they usually use to help settle lawsuits out of court.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Maybe tweet them and find out. I bet they'll holler back at you.
Well, I would hope. So, John, my question to you is, and this is obviously getting away from the challenge, but hey, this is what they did. John, what is wrong with the Whopper? What are you hoping for? What would you rather have?
Oh, nothing. Like, there's nothing wrong with the Whopper. In all honesty, I would probably go get a free Whopper every single day just to spite Burger King. Like, I'll get a Whopper, and the Burger King in my hometown is right beside like the highest homeless population in town. I'll get it and I'll give it to someone right outside.
A homeless person, yep.
But just to spite Burger King and make sure that I'm getting the best value, because if I'm not getting the best value, then it's not worth it being a Whopper VIP.
Yes, and I am looking up Whopper VIP, and I cannot find anything about it as you're talking. But I do like this idea, and I hope Amber B and Darrell, who are watching, if they live in areas with a homeless population, use that to kind of like feed the homeless for a period of time, because, man, this is a good deal. This is a good deal. Now, my favorite part, though, of this whole thing is when they open up the briefcase and they're like, oh, yeah. Like, Darrell's, like, Amber B doesn't even yell, and then Darrell is like, oh, and, like, you could tell that he doesn't mean it at all because he has no idea what this red piece of paper is or what it means. Thought that was absolutely hilarious how that ended up playing out, because like, they were definitely expecting to open that up and have a cheeseburger sitting there waiting for them, like large fries, cheeseburger, maybe some chicken fries. Let's go. I would like to be a chicken fry VIP at Burger King. That would be different. That I would take. But fun concept. I love when we get these types of ad plugs. I think it's so much fun. I wish Survivor still had those, going back to their Charmin days or their Mountain Dew days or their 7-Up days. Those were always the best. The Applebee's one and David vs. Goliath got so much screen time. And you know what? It works, because I guarantee you a lot of people watching the challenge tonight were like, I'm going to go get Burger King after this. And if we weren't podcasting, there's a very good chance I'd be at a Burger King right now. Like, it works. It works. I mean, it's not like Subway or anything like that, but going back to your other thing with how athletes don't really do this, it always cracks me up when like the Olympics are sponsored by McDonald's and they show like Paulo Anton Ono eating eating McDonald's. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he's just woofing down McDonald's every single day. But anyway, all of that being said, couldn't help it. What did we think about how they kind of did the targeting here? Not that we were really able to follow the targeting all that much, but you could see at the end kind of who was left. Like Darrell, nobody was really going for in this, which I thought was interesting because, again, he's paired up with Amber B. You know it's a female elimination. Why are you going to give a rookie the opportunity to make the decision on if they want to go in or not? Thought that was pretty interesting because that is the way it was shaping up. It's not Amber B. They like Darrell, but they know it's not a male elimination tonight.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, targeting in these challenges is so all over the place, and usually because it's essentially you have to do it as quickly as possible to choose who gets it, you're really in the spur of the moment, and it's kind of just the first name that comes to your mind.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
I honestly don't think there was a ton of strategizing going on in the players' minds during this, because they're trying to hold on, they're trying to answer questions, they're trying not to fall. There's a lot going on. I honestly think Cam was probably one of the few people who was actively thinking about it. You could see who she was targeting and trying to get them to fall so she could stay on longer. So she was doing a good job with that. She's clearly got one of the best strategic minds in the house. So, but yeah, I think everyone else is just trying to hold on, because you saw in the second heat, Nam won the second heat. Nam's a rookie. You're going to give Nam and Lolo all the power if they ended up winning.
But Nam was pushed. Nam was being chosen, I feel like, to go down. He's just that strong that he was able to hold on. Darrell was standing straight up and down, I think, last in that entire heat. I don't know. It's just surprising.
Maybe that just goes to show how good of a social game Darrell's playing, and we just don't see it because he isn't getting an edit because it's not very exciting.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But maybe he's just not being targeted by anyone. The fact that he is partnered with Amber B means that the Big Brother Alliance isn't going to come after him. But he's also one of the most experienced vets on this entire cast. So he has all the connections with these vets as well. And then you saw it throughout the challenge too, where it just gets to a point where the person you get question right, and it's like, who are you going to target? It's like, oh, well, Fezzi just gave me one, so I'm going to give him one back.
Yeah, it's a good
right?
point.
And it becomes more retaliatory than anything. And I mean, it led us to that fantastic confessional from Nam tonight in the middle of the challenge after Josh gives him his strike there. But
yeah, no, you want to reiterate?
Yeah, just you mother effer.
There you go. I just want to see if John will ever curse on my damn podcast. He doesn't really do it. I do it all the time. I was kind of hoping, but okay. So speaking of people using curse words and having good confessionals, getting away from Burger King and trivia and all of that and going the other way, let's go back to the beginning here where Amber M literally sits down across from Amber B and says, "I hate fake bitches, and that's what you are." What did we think about this? And then to follow it up with the absolutely worst missed opportunity in challenge history by saying, "Now I know what the B stands for." And I'm like, bitch. And then she's like, backstabber. And I'm like, you just called her a bitch in the last scene. And now she's Amber backstabber. Like what? Yeah. Like I threw my pen. I felt like I was just like, okay, what is this? What do we think about Amber M's feud with Amber B, calling her out so blatantly and giving her the worst nickname arguably in reality television history? Annabelle, I open that up to you.
Yeah, huge missed opportunity with the branding there. That was unfortunate. I thought the same thing, and she was like backstabber. What? I mean, like I guess, but I don't know. The confrontation is always happens in the challenge. You said you weren't going to do it, and then you did it, and now I'm angry, and that's the game. You can be butthurt all you want, but that's the game. And I mean, I feel like Amber M was really trying to rely on her social relationships and any sort of strategy because she probably knows she's a layup, quote unquote, and everyone in the house thinks it. So I think she's just kind of, I hate to say grasping at straws at this point, but I think she's just trying to get her foot, and she was just, that was her goal there.
Yeah. John, what do you think about Amber M here? And what do you think about the nickname? I won't make you curse. What do you think about the nickname?
I would have way preferred Amber Bitch over Amber Backstabber.
Yeah, we got it. All right, Annabelle, we're good. We're moving on. Right, no, but go ahead. But go ahead. The rest of it.
I love the energy Amber M's been bringing lately. She's become one of my favorites on this season. She's so fun to watch, despite the fact that she's viewed as this target. She's so scrappy. And even though people are still targeting her, she's like, I don't care. I'm calling you out on this right now. And I really, really don't want her to go home soon because I really just want to keep seeing that coming for the rest of the season. She
feels like a chihuahua to me, where like it's not going to win a fight, but it's going to fight everybody. And that's what she's like here. Like, she doesn't seem like she's going in to, she's not going to beat a lot of these girls in any type of challenge, but she has no problem getting in there and getting her feet dirty. Like, she has no problem fighting it out with these people. It seems that Annabelle, yep, there it goes. Annabelle she has this tradition now where if we hit a half hour of talking, she has enough and she just vanishes. So she'll be back at some point. This has become a challenge staple here. We do it to try to get the ratings, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. We'll see if it actually ends up getting us more viewers, which is what we're hoping by having this chaos that constantly happens. One of these times she's going to drop out and come back on with like a pirate hat and a mustache, or there's going to be like a floating orb behind her because she just time traveled and that's why she couldn't be here. So there's going to be something great coming on here, but we didn't really talk about anything. We were just saying how this is becoming a staple now for you, Annabelle. So
I'm sorry. I
good.
should have reset my Wi-Fi before we started the podcast today.
No worries at all. Okay. My biggest problem with this episode, and of course, like, I hate to be negative all the time, but my biggest problem with this episode was that after the trivia challenge ended, there was nothing left for this episode to do. And that really sucked. Because there was no drama around the Amber B thing. The party tonight was the least interesting one. Like, honestly, TJ better get back in there and tell Devin to start showing his ass again, because it's the only way to get this exciting. Because there was nothing going on. And I felt really bored by it. Gabby talking about, oh, I'm not going to kiss her ass just because she's the queen and blah, blah, blah. Nobody here likes her. There was nothing exciting there. And the deliberation was just straight up awkward because it was so obvious it was going to be Teresa, and Teresa calls them out and is like, so it's me. And they're like, well, it's like, okay, cool. It's you. 14 people vote for Teresa. Teresa goes out against Casey in a challenge that clearly Casey's going to kick her ass in. And I felt like it just all was just like, okay, how can we get 45 more minutes out of this after that part of the episode? So John, because I think Annabelle might be stuck again in time. What could the challenge have done differently here to spice this up a little bit? Or was there literally just no drama and it was, well, we just got to get you to this final part of the episode and have them do the elimination?
I was thinking throughout the episode that Teresa was almost getting this like underdog edit in the episode, where there was a possibility that despite it was pretty inevitable she was going down this week, that she might pull it off and win the gold skull. And I think what would have really helped this episode, take that discussion with Corey about the postpartum depression, move it after the daily. Right? Because then we're just spreading things out a little bit more in the episode. It's more evenly edited that way. And if you're seeing it after the daily, where you already know she hasn't won, so she's likely going in, it becomes a lot more apparent that she has a chance of winning this elimination. And I think it adds more suspense to the episode.
Yeah, I totally agree, because I feel like it was just kind of thrown in. It felt almost out of place. I feel like that's one of the things the challenge does too, as Brett LaBelle calls it, the lesson of the week. That's what he was calling it during Island of the Idols, when a lot of people in the Survivor community were like, okay, we get it, but like, you don't want to be talked to, you want to be talked with. Like, you want to be a part of the conversation. Not like, okay, here's your lesson this week. And this week's lesson on MTV's The Challenge 36 was postpartum depression, and this is how it feels. It didn't feel natural. Like, it didn't come up in a way that at all felt natural. There was no build up to it. There's no way they don't have a confessional of a build up to this. Like, they make sure to get their confessionals all across the board. So I just thought that was kind of weird. It just felt like, okay, here's your lesson. Here's what it is. Let's try to make them care about Teresa, despite the fact that at this point we've made Teresa out to be a pretty big villain. So I don't know. I just was not, I agree. I wasn't into it. I thought the placement was weird. And like, Corey didn't like, yes, Corey's like, well, no, I got her back. You're a strong girl, all that stuff. Didn't feel like he really gave a shit. Like, and it's not because I don't think he didn't. I just think because of the way it was presented to us, it was hard to get on board with either one of them.
Well, especially when we're going into the elimination and it's revealed that Corey and Teresa are the compromised agents. We get a confessional from Corey saying, I want Teresa to lose. It's like 45 minutes ago, you just said that you wanted to stick it out with her.
Yeah.
Like, there were a lot of inconsistencies with the edit in this episode that I think really made it suffer.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about the final part of this episode now, where they actually have snapping point. I thought it was pretty obvious. Amber B, once Teresa was voted in, Amber B was not going to go in. She made it happen. She gets that sly look in her eye. I love that moment with Darrell. She's the reason that this goes down. There's no way she's going to put her neck on the line against Teresa now. Put in somebody else who will give you a favor later on in the future. Puts Casey in. I thought that was a very obvious choice, and I didn't really think that there was any chance Teresa would beat her. But this challenge looked like a very difficult physical challenge, and ultimately, this is the one Devin did beat Wes in, close to similar type of concept that Devin did beat Wes in. So I was like, well, maybe Teresa will just be able to outlast her. But Casey's just, I mean, she's just built. I love when Casey said she was a small girl earlier in the season. You're not a small girl, Casey. You could beat up half the men there. And just the way she's built was built for this challenge.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she's a football player. This is literally like training for her, essentially. And at least we did get that conversation from Darrell of like, why isn't Amber going for it, right? So we did have Darrell kind of say, Amber, you should go for this because this might be your only chance to do it. So at least we did have that bit of a quandary there as to whether or not she did. Obviously, Teresa's an incredibly strong competitor, and it would be very risky for Amber to do that. But in the end, is Amber playing this game for herself, or is she playing it for the Big Brother Alliance? Because that's what it feels like to me. Is she is playing it for Big Brother, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Annabelle, you're back. What do you think if we can get you in here?
Sorry about that. I had to reset my router. I'm gonna fire my internet company.
There you go. That's smart.
Yeah,
hopefully it's not Burger King.
It's not Burger King, unfortunately.
Okay.
Never would have worked with them in the first place. But we're just talking about Amber B and her game plan tonight.
All her decisions that she made after winning the double agent.
I was kind of with Darrell, where I was surprised she decided not to go down herself. Because as we've seen with the past couple of eliminations, they're just recycling the same ones. And I know they did this a few weeks ago. I believe this is the one where Devin beat Wes.
Similar, yeah.
I mean, yeah, or like pretty similar, the snapping point one. So she probably could have, thought about it a little bit. Maybe she just panicked and decided, no, I don't want to do this right now. But if I were her, that's like a perfect opportunity to send yourself down. There's still 3 gold skulls left on the table. I think she definitely could have taken Teresa fine. I don't know if she would have won or not, but I think she would have had a really good shot at it. So, and Casey, as we saw, Teresa didn't even get any rings, and Casey got all 3 very quickly, or seemingly quickly. So, yeah, I don't know. She was happy with her choice.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
You're back. All right. Yeah, you cut for a second there, but I agree. I agree with pretty much everything you said. I do think, though, the reason why Amber B ultimately doesn't go in here is because you still have 2 layups and Gabby left. And the layups I'm referring to are Amber M, and I'm referring to Big T. And then she still has Gabby. She has so many people that she can beat, and there's still 2 female gold skulls left. And if people start getting tired of her having any type of power in this game, they're going to go after her. And they are likely going to go after other rookies who don't have skulls to put them against each other so that they can then try to take away the skull from one of those rookie girls. So I just feel like, especially helping Casey get her gold skull and throwing her down there when Casey wanted to go down there, putting her in against somebody that she thought she could beat in a challenge she thought she could win, is going to help her when she turns around and says, hey, I want to go against Amber M. And they say, sure, we'll put you down against Amber M. Like, that's fine with us. They're starting to run out of opposition numbers here to go against what the Big Brothers and Cam and Leroy want. And I think that's what we're starting to see here. So, and again, no mix up tonight in the alliance or in the pairings. Again, as we were saying last week, the problem is it's becoming a little stale because what does Casey do after she wins? She goes right back to Leroy. Now Casey and Leroy both have gold skulls. It makes sense. That's what I would have done too, but it's not super exciting because then we see Corey go up with Amber M. And to me, I feel nothing when it comes to that. Nothing.
I almost feel like there should be some sort of twist, which just messes up all the partners at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like
maybe that's what CT was screaming about.
Reset challenge or something that's just like, hey, you all have to run this challenge, and your placement determines your partner. Mm-hmm. Or something like that, just to mix it up, because clearly this idea of the double agent thing isn't mixing up this cast the way they wanted it to. So we're just really lacking at this point. And I just want some more drama on this season. I just want something more to entice me and to make it so that it's more exciting, to make it that these players actually have to be strategic and use their social game. Mm-hmm. Because right now, it's just these two alliances sitting there waiting for the other to make the move, and whoever wins the daily challenge, that's the alliance that gets to make the move.
Yeah.
I want something different. I want something else to emerge. I want people to start working against other people. We're getting to the point in this challenge where you're not looking at getting the weak people out. You have to look at getting the strong people out. Mm-hmm. So let's get these strong people up against each other and let the fireworks fly.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the big pitches tonight to Amber B was, this is how you get, like, you don't want Teresa running a final because she'll beat you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. We talk about in Survivor how we hate production interference and how we just want them to play the game and trust the cast. And that's not really working in this case. So I'm honestly not opposed to a little bit of a production twist to kind of mix things up, keep it fresh, so we just don't limp to the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with that. And I think something that's hurting this season too is that Cam and Leroy both have their gold skulls already. So there's no drama around will they get their gold skulls. I liked when Cam tonight was like, stop doing that, TJ, because like when TJ tried to pretend that one of the guys were going to go in and it was so obvious they weren't. But I liked that. But the problem is that storyline of can Leroy and Cam both get to a final. Right now, we're assuming yes until they prove otherwise, until one of them actually has to go in against somebody again. It just seems too easy for them. Cam's got her gold skull, and there's still 2 available gold skulls. Nobody's going to try to go against Cam to beat her. Nobody's going to beat Cam. The only one who's going to beat Cam was Casey, and Casey has her gold skull. Mm-hmm. So now nobody has to go against Cam. You're going against Denisa and hoping it's endurance-based. Or you would go against Casey, or you're going to go against whichever one of the 2 women end up getting their skulls last year. So I think that has hurt it in terms of some of the people that the drama was built around early on getting their gold skull. Will they be able to pull it off? They have it already. Anissa and Fessy, Cam and Leroy. Now Casey has one. Now it's about which one of these rookie women is actually going to come out on top. And I think that's going to be the story moving forward. And I do actually think that's going to be a more interesting story because I think they're going to start getting played a little bit harder by some of these experienced players. And it's gonna be like, how much game do you really have? And I think that's gonna be fun to watch. And I will say one more thing before I turn it over to both of you. Sorry, John, I think it was a little bit of a delay. But I will say one more thing before I turn it over here. I had said Teresa and Jay, and I forgot that Teresa had said that she was done, but I was like, maybe they're looking towards the future. Get out these big people and then worry about like you taking over the challenge. It seems like Casey is trying to take over the challenge right now. It seems like Casey wants to be the staple of this show. She wants to be one of those people who plays every single season, who's always asked back. She's only in her 2nd season. And it seems like she's planning for the future with a lot of the decisions she's making here in terms of bringing in Amber B, working with the Big Brother people who seem like they have nothing else to do except go play reality TV, which good for them. I wish I could do that. And I think that that's what Casey's doing. And I misspoke when I said Teresa and Jay, although I could see Jay working with them at some point, kind of making a CBS coalition, but in future seasons. But I think that's what Casey is trying to do here. And I think it's working really, really well because Amber B did exactly what Casey wanted her to do. And if all goes well, Casey will be running her 2nd final in just 2 seasons.
Yeah, and it is what it's looking at. And yeah, I mean, it also helps that Casey's just one of the strongest women out there. Mm-hmm. She is someone who it's like, yeah, we're okay with throwing her in here. We know she can run a final because we've seen her do it before. We also know she can't do math, so maybe that helps you later on, as it did earlier in the season 2. Mm-hmm. But Casey is definitely looking to be a career challenge person. We're at that turning point in the challenge, 36 seasons in, where we're getting another new cast infusion here, and unfortunately, it's like all Big Brother people, so they all want to work together. But we're looking at Casey being a staple for the challenge for many seasons to come, I believe.
I agree.
Yeah, I completely agree. We've talked about how the challenge is kind of one of those shows where you are not really looking to cement your legacy. You're looking to kind of cement everybody's interest in you, so you can continually come back. You know, you're going to bring the drama, you're going to bring the competition, you're interesting, all that. I definitely think Casey is somebody who we are probably going to continue to see for a while. And I guess it kind of depends on how this season plays out, but I think that's actually a goal of Lolo's as well. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but there's a HBO documentary called The Price of Gold. And it basically is just a discussion of how a lot of pro athletes really struggle financially, because in sports that are kind of underfunded, or maybe you don't have like all the big endorsement deals as some of the other athletes, these people really are not making enough money to survive. And Lolo was part of that documentary, actually. So I could see her continuing to try and come on the challenge, A, to earn money, and B, to get appearance fees and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of why we see a good bit of her, even though she's not necessarily politically making a lot of moves, and she's not winning either.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I get it. I ran cross country and track in college. That's a very quick understanding of, wow, this is useless. In high school, it feels useful. Once you hit college, it's useless unless you're an Olympian, a future Olympian. But I wasn't going to beat those people. So I get it. I mean, and it makes sense for Lolo and some of these other people. Like, you know what? And it's fun. At the end of the day, it is fun. And it's something that you can do as you get older. Look at CT. I mean, he's old, but he's still doing it. He's still competing, and he's still enjoying it. And eventually your body's going to fail you. But until that point comes, like, have fun with it, because who knows? You might take TJ's job at some point. You never freaking know. So I can get behind it. But it does seem like Casey's kind of that one who's like, hey, this is my time to shine. All of that being said, I'm not going to bounce through the teams this week, because I don't feel like we got much from the teams this week. And if we didn't talk about them here, I don't feel like there's any need to bring them up. Josh, no. Fessy, no. Anissa, she had a great line at the end. Nani sort of was in there. Like, I just don't feel like it's necessary. So I'm not going to waste everybody's time pretending to have a recap for everybody, because we don't. And I think next week we might start to see a little bit. But with the way the Gold Skulls are starting to line up, we have 3 teams now with Gold Skulls in terms of both members of their team have Gold Skulls. So that's making things a little bit less interesting. And it would be nice to see somebody with a Gold Skull and take a different partner who also has one.
I think it will actually be a little more interesting because there are 3 teams with Gold Skulls. It does mean that when you don't know who the elimination is, like if it's a men or a women's elimination, that it's just safe to put that partnership down to try to get a skull, right? Because then you know one of you is getting a skull.
Yeah.
So I think that moving forward will help a little bit. I think we're probably looking at another women's elimination next week.
Agreed.
Hopefully.
They got to get them their skulls. That's the problem.
Because they're down by 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get another women's elimination next week, and hopefully somebody decides to just blow everything up.
Yeah.
And based on the preview we got today, looks like somebody might be CT.
There it was. Looks like that somebody might be CT. Sorry, John. You pulled an Annabelle there and froze for a half second.
You did freeze.
It's so random. I don't know what it is about Wednesday nights. John and I podcast every Tuesday. Everything goes so beautifully. I mean, it's crazy times here. But no, it could be CT. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen as the season moves on. I'm glad that Fessy's game worked enough to at least make out with Gabby. So good for him. But that's going to do it for this episode. We're pretty much at an hour. It's amazing that we talked about this for an hour. MTV barely had an hour and a half for us tonight, so I'm impressed with us. Annabelle is dipping early. See you later, Annabelle. She just deuced. She didn't even like fake freeze that time. She just said, see ya, I'm out. We will be back again next week with another episode of The Challenge 36, recapping what episode 10, John, me, and Annabelle if she wants to come back. But Me and Alexa have finally started doing more Survivor content. If you're a Survivor fan and that's how you found us, Survivor content. We did Classic Survivor. We're doing a 10-part series. We have done Parvati's idol situation in Heroes versus Villains and the Martyr approach from Survivor Token Chains. If you know what those episodes are, I don't want to spoil them too much, but you're probably a massive Survivor fan. So go watch those. Those are fun. We're talking about Wentworth Does Not Count this upcoming week. So that'll be good. That's going to be on Tuesday. Alexa and Intern are starting Survivor South Africa Season 6, also going to be airing Tuesday. And John and I will be back again for another one of our Movie Buff Specialist episodes. We are all the way down to movie number 97. We're going to be talking about A Knight's Tale for John and Shame, the one with the gratuitous nudity and gratuitous blood and curse words and all of that. So if you're not a fan of that stuff, don't watch Shame. That is your warning, but that is what we'll be talking about next Tuesday. A lot of fun stuff coming up. Become a patron, patreon.com/Survivor Specialist. Daily content for the $20 patrons. I have decided that I am going to go ahead and do a top 50 exits in Survivor history. So that's what I started today. I did my number 50. We'll be working that through to number 1. Also weekly content for $10 patrons. So a lot of fun stuff coming up. We do Q&As. We do retrospectives, and you become friends, and sometimes you end up on podcasts. Sometimes you dip early on podcasts because you just had enough and you don't want to be there anymore. So Annabelle's there with her hands over her face. I can't unmute her because her mic is not hooked up. So she has supposedly muted herself. We will see you again next week. John and I will see you again next Tuesday. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, and leave us 5 stars on iTunes because there's people on there who call us janky crooks, whatever the hell that means. Bye, everybody.